Today we're going to explore something deeply personal but also universal. It's the journey of raising children between cultures. It's a story about identity, about belonging, and really about the quiet anxieties that tend to live in the spaces between worlds. And it starts, like so many of these stories do, with a little nagging worry. It begins with a confession, a feeling that might just echo for a lot of us navigating this path. It's that quiet whisper of self-doubt, the one that asks, am I getting this right? It's a whisper that really sets the stage for a much, much larger question. And this is the heart of it all, isn't it? This feeling of being sort of suspended between places, of not having one single solid ground to call home. It's a feeling that weaves its way through this entire story. To really understand this feeling, we have to step into her story. She was born in Syria to a Syrian father and a Czech mother, but she was raised in the Czech Republic. That was the backdrop of her entire childhood: preschool, primary school, high school. So in her heart, the answer to that constant question, where are you from? Well, it was simple. It was clear. But the world often reflects back a different picture. It creates this kind of jarring contrast between her internal truth and how other people saw her. Her olive skin told its own story to others. Her name didn't quite fit the mold. A teacher once even insisted she could hear an accent in her native language, a comment that just left her wondering, how is that even possible? And this feeling of being in between, it wasn't just out in the world. It was woven right into the fabric of her home life. Her Syrian father identified as Muslim, while her Czech mother was an atheist, which, is a pretty common worldview in a country where over half the population identifies the same way. Her father's relationship with his own culture was its own beautiful paradox. He'd try to educate her about Islam, but these lectures, they lacked a certain conviction, especially since he didn't seem to take them all that seriously himself. I mean, this was a man who loved Czech beer and schnitzels just as much as any part of his heritage. It's a perfect example of how culture is lived, not just preached. And then there was a moment that just cuts right through all the noise. Standing in a familiar school hallway, a friend she'd known since they were little kids asked her, calmly, if she was a terrorist. That question just hung in the air, so heavy and bewildering. Why would he ask that? Of her? It was a stark, painful lesson in how suddenly you can be made an other, even in the one place you call home. So belonging was never a simple thing for her. And as she got older, motherhood didn't make it any simpler. If anything, it just revived all those old questions, bringing them into even sharper focus. And it turns out there's actually a name for this whole experience. This deeply personal experience has a name. They're called third culture kids, or TCKs. These are children who spend their formative years in a place that isn't their parents' home culture. So they build relationships to all these different cultures, but they don't have full ownership in any single one. And this brings the story right up to today, to her own children. They were born in Warsaw, Poland, to a mother of Czech and Syrian heritage. So by definition, they are third culture kids. They are growing up in that very same in-between space, a legacy passed down. You see, for kids like these, the world has a subtle way of teaching a very difficult lesson, that belonging isn't just a given. It's often conditional, something you have to earn or prove, based on this complex and usually unspoken set of rules. So what are those conditions? Well, it can be tied to how you look, how well you speak the language, or the color of your passport. It's influenced by news headlines, by playground politics, and even by the subtle, unconscious pressure to not make other people uncomfortable with your very existence. And kids, they absorb all of this. When being different feels uncomfortable, they might start to censor parts of themselves. Maybe they shy away from social situations, or even more painfully, they might start to develop false, negative beliefs about their own identity. For a parent who's watching this all unfold, it's a profound challenge. As she puts it, I am still learning to sit with that discomfort. It's this active, ongoing process of acceptance, not just for her child, but for herself, too. This discomfort became very, very real with her firstborn. When he started a bilingual preschool, he really didn't speak much at all until he was about 4. His teachers, seeing his limited skills, got frustrated, and they were constantly asking what languages they used at home. Her own frustrations started to grow, not with her son, but with the world's lack of patience for his unique timeline. And it's no wonder that patience was so necessary. I mean, his young mind was navigating a sea of 4 completely distinct languages: English, Czech, and Italian at home, with Polish then added into the mix at school. This wasn't a deficit, it was an abundance. This whole experience led to a really powerful realization for her. She realized she doesn't control people's judgments, and more importantly, she can't force her children's identities into some neat little box. It's a living thing, something that's shaping itself day by day. Her job isn't to direct it, but to wait, to watch, and to just be there for the questions when they come. And this brings us to the real heart of her journey. For any parent out there raising children between cultures, there's a vital message here. You are not failing when things feel messy. In fact, that mess, it's part of the process. So the role of the parent then isn't to forcefully shape an identity. It's actually much simpler, and yet infinitely harder. It's just to give them time and to make room for the unique, unscripted person they are in the process of becoming. Because in the end, there is no perfect formula. There's only this truth, that raising a child across cultures is a profound labor. It's a mosaic, really, built from love, from mistakes, from sitting with uncertainty, and from the deep, uncomfortable, and beautiful work of letting a soul find its own way home.